no channeler or tarot reader or spiritual guru or any person like that can ever tell you something that you can't tell yourself or that God isn't already telling you. And I just want to talk about that today, about what is the role of tarot readers, of channelers in this spiritual journey. So first off, if you're on the spiritual journey, you know that it is the dissolution of ego, right? That journey is of shadow work. It is of looking at yourself, looking at your past, looking at your present, how you showed up and how you continue to show up, and what your inner mental state is like, an inner emotional state. What beliefs do you have about yourself and about the world, about relationships, about God, about the universe? What ideas that you have in your head and around your soul. And so, when you start the spiritual journey, the way I imagine it and the way it felt like for me was that my body or my heart or my mind, but I like to think of it as my heart because I feel the spirit the most in my heart space. But like my heart was there, and I had built unconsciously, unconsciously built all of the scaffolding around my heart. And so whenever I would, try to access my heart space, try to access my intuition or connect with my inner self, I came into blockages, right? I would interact with the scaffolding instead of actually my heart. And so, the true spiritual journey is that dissolution. It's looking at your beliefs, and overcoming them and releasing them and, getting back to your heart space, which is complete emptiness. It is a void space, right? It is just a vessel for spirit, it is for the universe. And that doesn't mean, depression or anything like that. It means just embodying like pure energy, pure life force, that is empty because it contains everything, right? It's empty, but it also contains everything. So that's the real spiritual journey. So when you go to channelers and tarot readers, what they can do is they can give you clarity and they can give you confirmation. And that's what their role should be. It should always be led by your inner work first, your direct connection to God. Because here's the thing, they're people too. They're people just like you and me who have gone on their own spiritual path, and they have ego, they have trauma, they have limiting beliefs, right? That they have, dismantled. They've done the work to dismantle them. But it is very much an ongoing journey. And so they continue to show up every day trying to dismantle it and meeting their life, where it's at and where they are in their life. And so, the real, spiritual people, real channelers, real tarot readers, they're able to offer these insights because they do the work in their inner life to always dismantle that scaffolding, to always keep their heart space and their third eye, like their chakras aligned, and keep their heart and soul free to get the messages from spirit. But they are like, especially on YouTube, like they're very general messages because they're reading for an energy, they're reading for the collective unconscious. And so it can be confirmation, but the specifics are going to come from your own journey. Like no channel or no tarot reader, they can say maybe words that mean something to you or give you clarity and kind of like, I feel like they give you the first step maybe, or the next step. They can show you it to you, but it's your responsibility and your work to then take the step, right? And so, these channelers and tarot readers, they don't have any more like priority with God than you do. They don't have a more direct line to God than you do. It's like they pick up and dial the same phone number that you pick up and dial to speak to God. But the difference is that they do the work so that they can hear, right? So they don't hear all this muffling and their own voices getting in the way, right? So they can hear God. And so I feel like I have seen in spiritual spaces, there can be kind of an idolizing of tarot readers, of channeling people. And it reminds me a lot of, organized religion, which is something that I grew up with. I grew up Catholic. And, when I was doing a lot of work about my beliefs about religion, about spirituality, and about God. Like, my ideas about God were very much wrapped into the system of the Catholic Church, and how up until I was an adult, right, I believed that spirituality was was rules, right? Because that's the Catholic Church. The whole thing is like, you look to the priest, you look to the church to lead you, right? So that you don't actually do very much soul searching yourself to figure out, well, what do I believe? What are my morals? What feels good for me? You outsource it. Okay, and that's the key. The key is that you're not supposed to outsource your spirituality. You're not supposed to delegate your spiritual journey. It's supposed to be personal. It's supposed to be work that you do, right? And people can only give you like pointers, you know? And so, you know, it is inward. It's very personal to each of us. And so, you know, when you kind of idolize channel readers and tarot readers, you can get into this sort of space that is just solidifying your own ego and your own separation from God, because you're going through a middleman, right? It's not your direct connection. It's not your higher self. It's not, you know, connecting to the universe through your own experiences, but through the experiences of someone else, and then you watching them experience it, right? And so you know, they can be very helpful, you know, if you need clarity, because, you know, when we're in our own life, we can get muddled. Like I said, we can have scaffolding around our heart. We can have, you know, things obstructing our view. And so they can give clarity about, oh, well, these are the energies I'm seeing. You know, that can be confirmation or clarity or whatever, but they're not supposed to be the primary work that you do. Your primary work is introspection. It is finding yourself, finding your highest self, you know, finding God. And so, you know, I think that, you know, the mark of whether this is good for you or helpful, or whether the channeler is really channeling, is how does it feel in your heart space? You know, does it resonate? Does it feel good? Does it strike something so deep within you, right? And that's the only thing I can really use to describe it, is the depth of it. It just resonates between your whole soul. Like, it's a knowing. And is it helping you dissolve your ego? Is it helping you connect with the world, with other people, with realizing that we're all connected, that we're all one being, that, you know, this body and this self that I perceive is just an illusion, and it's how you interact with the world, but it's not like the end all be all, that we are all connected, that everyone is just an extension of you. And so I think that's really important. Like, is it strengthening your ego in your separation from other people, or is it connecting you with other people? Is it allowing you to grow, to fall into a place where you are peaceful, where you feel restful in your soul? And so, sorry, I wrote a couple of things down because I wanted to make sure that I touched all my points. But yeah, so, you know, you need to, it's a way to give clarity, you know, and so it is, like I said, a very self-driven story. And so, secondly, you know, these people, they are very connected to spirit, and they can tell you incredibly intimate details about yourself because they are picking up in the collective consciousness. And also because we're constantly, like, spiritual people are talking about pretty heavy topics like self-image, identity, ego, trauma, relationships, just, you know, the world, just, you know, very sensitive, very real philosophical topics. And so I've seen it where people can feel like they're talking directly to you, and they are, but they're also talking to the, you know, the consciousness, the entirety of the consciousness. So it's like recognizing, yeah, they're talking to you, but they're also talking to, you know, thousands of other people, or the entirety of the human race. And so I see some kind of like parasocial dynamics going on, and I think that it's on the responsibility of the spiritual person to realize when it's becoming kind of an unhealthy thing, where it's just strengthening your feeling above other people, right? Feeling like maybe the channeler owes you something, or that you're soulmates, or that you're meant to be together. And I'm not saying like, I think that, you know, the universe can put people together like that, but it will show itself in the very physical reality. And I think it's also a symptomatic of just being on screens and, you know, a disconnection from our personal life. So, you know, just remember that they're real people. They have their own ego, they have their own spiritual journey, and you know, your most important work is yourself, and they're not, you know, better than you. I'm not better than you. Everyone is the same, but everyone is different. You know, we're all equal, but we're all different. And just because they're on like a maybe more advanced on their spiritual path and they can give you insights and clarity, it doesn't mean that they are better than you or, like I said, have a more direct line. So also, I want to say, like, you know, when you're looking at channeling and tarot readers, you need to make sure that you're not like searching out readings to confirm what you want to hear, what your ego wants to hear. Like, you know, where you are sure that there's some kind of enemy working against you, and you purposely search out readings that talk about secret enemies and people are plotting against you, and you know, these people are doing things behind your back and things like that. And that, you know, that could be very true in your experience, but the whole point is to release it. Like, that is the goal, is to release that, to cut off your energy from that. And when you keep searching out those types of videos, it just solidifies the bond. It just strengthens it, right? And also probably strengthens your ego, because now you feel really separate from these people that maybe don't have the best intentions for you, but you're viewing them as an enemy. You're viewing them as something you're fighting against. And that's not the whole point. Is that to love one another and to realize that we're all doing our best in whatever way we can, right? And it could be presenting like really horribly, where you're hurting other people, or, you know, trying to make other people not advance, but you know, you still have to recognize that they're on their own journey. And so you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Like, I feel like tarot readers always say, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And so, you know, take what resonates and then move on with your day. Integrate it. You have to take time to integrate it into yourself and into your journey, into what you're going on. And also, like, these people, like I said, are on their own journeys. They're on their own paths. And so I do think that like the algorithm spirit will align videos to you, but you also like have to take with a grain of salt. Like, if this person is in a period of their life where they're doing a lot of shedding, a lot of leaving, a lot of, you know, destroying, like they're in the destruction kind of phase of their life where they're like, you know, getting rid of things. That's great. And that is definitely a part of the spiritual journey, but it may not necessarily be where you are. Maybe you've already done that. Or maybe you're at the part where you want to build a little bit, and you'll come back to this area of, you know, destroying some things in your life. But, you know, like I said, every single person you have to remember, they're people. They're people just like you and me. You know, they're on their own spiritual journey. And so they're going to have bias. I have bias, right? Everyone speaks from their own experiences. The way that they view things are colored by their past, by their experiences, by their interests, by the way that they view the world, how they understand things. So just remember that you are always going to get the most personal and the most meaningful messages directly from the universe, directly from spirit. So meditate, do your own tarot readings, do your own channeling. You know, do your shadow work, and that will give you the most benefit. That will propel you the most along your spiritual journey. So do not outsource it. Do not delegate it. You know, do it yourself. Be the manager, be the boss, because you are. And that's how you make the most progress. And that's like the whole point, is to connect with yourself. Like, that is the name of the game, is connecting with yourself. And through that, connecting with other people. So that's what I have. Thanks for watching. I love you. Bye.